First thing he had us do when we got there was watch the episode of A Haunting. It's called The Dark Forest, if anybody wants to check that out. And basically tells us the story of this family that moved in there in the 1970s and was tormented and sought counsel from a priest at St. Bonaventure University. They ended up performing a structural exorcism on the house to try to rid the spirits from the house. It didn't work, and then the family ended up leaving. The original door to the bathroom, which leads to the basement. I've gotten some pretty weird EVPs down in the basement. One of the first EVPs I got is "I'm dead, I'm buried, help." This is the room when I bought the house that it was infected with insects. Flies flocked to this room. There were 400,000 honeybees in the floorboards of the wall here, and they lived in the floorboards here for years, probably past the 70s. Psychics have come here and said there's a portal in this room. There's a young boy who lived up the hill and he was coming down here and he was playing at the barn on the bus and on the chain snap and cracked him up and killed him. So it was definitely that death that happened on the property as well.
For Clara Dandy, life in the country promises peace and hope. But in her new house, these things are hard to find. Something sinister lurks in the woods and stalks her family. Clara relies on her faith and on the sixth sense of a respected psychic to fight a legion of lost souls. Between the world we see and the things we fear, there are doors. When they are opened, nightmares become reality.
What is up, you guys? Today we are back at the Hinsdale house filming a part 2 that I promised, and today we're going to be inside the house filming a full investigation, and I'm going to give you like a little tour of the house. But yeah, this is really sweet. I got the whole property to myself. I was just inside the house and it's really cool seeing it in person because the first time I came here I did not go in the house. So going inside it was really cool. And I got to talk to the owner, Dan, which is such a nice guy. I really think this is a sweet location, and I think I need to give the full history and put the most effort I can into this video. Subscribe to the Urban Files if you haven't, leave a like, and let's go explore this house and investigate.
If you look in here, now you can actually, when you're investigating later, you can actually take this out and use this as a trigger object if you want to just put it back when you're done. But there's actually arrowheads in here that we got from the property when we were digging for the septic system. It's an old milk jug down there from the town of Hinsdale, and then the chalice, the traveling mass kit from the priest that performed the exorcism here in the 1970s. But we've actually, there used to be a tub here, but the weird thing is this door was actually buried underneath the floorboards. This is the original door to the bathroom, which leads to the basement. I've gotten some pretty weird EVPs down in the basement. One of the first EVPs I got is "I'm dead, I'm buried, help," which, you know, we haven't been able to really excavate in the basement, but there is the stories and the folklore of the men that lived here in the 1800s that were luring people in from the stagecoach. And then they were supposedly storing bodies in the basement and the crawl space up here in the attic. And then after the winter thaw, they were supposedly burying the bodies out onto the hill. So, you know, there's obviously no can prove for that. But with every folklore story, there is a little bit of truth, you know. This is a master bedroom and 2 small bedrooms and 1 room with the only closet. So this room is Mary's room. This is the room when I bought the house that it was infected with insects. Flies flocked to this room. There were 400,000 honeybees in the floorboards of the wall here, and they lived in the floorboards here for years, probably past the 70s. Psychics have come here and said there's a portal in this room. When the Dandies lived here, they didn't let anybody go in there. They actually boarded this room up, and Mary didn't even stay in there. So I do feel like the energy has shifted to the closet because of the investigations that go on here as well. It's the only closet in the house. But people have been scrying in here, And I do feel like there's a lot of energy in this closet.
Is this where the boy
Supposedly hung himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And who helped him out of there when he...
Oh, one of the family members that was living here. He was a young boy who lived up the hill, and he was coming down here, and he was playing at the barn on the buzzsaw, and the chain snapped and cracked him in the head and killed him. So it was definitely that death that happened on the property as well.
I also wanted to talk about the hanging tree because I didn't really get into that either.
So the hanging tree is at the northeast corner of the original property over here. It was hit by lightning in 2003. You got a picture of it on your video, right? And then it healed over into the ditch, and there's actually remnants of that tree still there. And I've actually, when I investigated there, I've gotten EVPs there. I've gotten energy spikes from dead wood, which makes no sense to me. So there's definitely some energy down there. And we did verify that it was a hanging tree that was used by the town of Hinsdale back in its day.
Oh my god.
So there was a family that lived here prior to the Dandy family, and it was a young boy, and we interviewed his daughter because he didn't want to go on camera, but he basically recollects bringing his snowmobile, thinking that the pond was frozen, and bringing his snowmobile onto the pond out back. It cracked through, and he ran to the house to get his uncle, and then when they pulled it out and they were returning back to the house, he turned around and saw a man and a woman and a little kid hovering over the pond that didn't look like they have legs, and then they dissipated into thin air. So the stories prior to the Dandy family, there are actually people that lived here before and after that have been affected by this house living here. So actually there was one family that actually lived here for about a month, and they left all their possessions here. They didn't want what was ever here to know that they were leaving.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they came here for a month and then they were out of here. It was pretty crazy.
Was that right after the Dandies?
Yeah, it was in the late 70s. It was basically, once it was bought and the Dandies, after the Dandies moved in, it was owned by the Reese Tree Farm. And then they basically hold the mortgage on it. And the mortgage never got paid off in all these years until I bought it. Wow. So it was kind of just like rented, and then that was never paid, so then it defaults back to them, and they rerun it, so they've, I mean, it's a smart business, but I put like a door on it, but you can open it. All that stuff, those are like saddlebags from a motorcycle. There's all this stuff was in here, and we pushed it up forward when we were fixing the ceiling.
Damn. That's all original then?
Yeah.
Wow.
We found letters in there from like the Dandy family, from the Misnick family, from all different eras living here. Now, supposedly they were putting dead bodies in here and storing them until the winter thaw, and I just look at it and I'm like, how the heck would they get them in there? But then somebody brought it to my attention, like, if you look at this, how it's built, like this lip here, what if there was like a trap door or something that kind of just went down on this? And they actually used that to like capture people or keep them stuck up here? Because it looks like that, like if you look at how it's built, the lip there's something that here, even if it was just a board that came down like this, you could walk on it and just go right in there. This stuff. That's cool. Wow. So interesting. This was stolen from the house. But in Clara's book, she talks about how Phil was sitting here smoking a cigarette, and an ashtray levitated and flung against the wall. Well, this is the actual ashtray that flew against the wall.
Wow.
That's pretty neat. I showed Clara that, and she's... Other interesting fact. So, when I was renovating the bathroom, we took a lot of the old wood, and there's this guy that uses wood from haunted houses to make spirit boxes, named Jeff Vent. And I sent him this big chunk of wood that was still good shape, and when he cut into it, he found a bullet shaving in the wood that was in the basement. It's pre-Revolutionary War. We had it dated. I'm not taking it out. Just cool to show people, because that means I know that there's the folklore of the people being stored in the basement and people being killed and stuff. But that means that this wood was a bullet was shot into a tree. That wood was harvested and used to build this house. Which is kind of cool because it's so old. The factory in Bradford, Pennsylvania is just real close by. And these were Phil's. He was a smoker, Phil Dandy. This was Mike's Tomahawk. This was Laura's. This was one of her cameras, which is kind of cool. Found up in the crawl space. And we found a whole bunch of like stuff that they would have used at school. This we found out by the pond, which was an old horseshoe, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because that whole side of the pond, on the right side of the pond where we found that foundation, was inaccessible when I bought it, and we had to like excavate all that out of there, and then that's when we found the foundation, just so people could actually access that part of the pond and investigate there. So pretty neat. So as we find stuff, I've been saving it, and when I open up the museum, we'll put it all in the museum. Oh, this is interesting, right? So this is 2 of these, and they were found in the wall and on the floor of the bathroom when we were renovating it. And at first, I started getting freaked out. Like, okay, why are these carved bullheads in the floor? Why are there 2 of them? And why is there one here and one there? And is there more on the walls? Do they mean something? And after researching that, we found out that they were neckerchief slides for Boy Scouts. And you would actually put your neckerchief through and then put that up like that. And they were like in the 1950s. And then when we researched the McMahon, 2 of the McMahon brothers were actually Boy Scout leaders. So I just don't know how they would have gotten in the floorboard or the wall. And this one's in really good shape.
Wow. And that's hence the name McMahon Road?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was named after the McMahon family because they owned it for so long. So some of the cool stuff that we found.
So we're gonna head inside. Little sunroom in here. And then as soon as you walk into that door, you immediately enter the kitchen area. So the house was mainly kept the way it was when the Dandies lived here, for what they could keep the same, which is really cool. Right when you walk in through the sunroom, there's Mike's room on the right, or would have been Mike's room. And this might have been the bed right here, where the books came flying out from the shelf and landed on him when he was sleeping. So if we go through the kitchen, we have a bathroom right here. Pretty nice bathroom. Everything was fully renovated in this house. I guess the bathroom was actually falling into the ground, is what the owner told me. Then we have a living room right here. Spacious living room. This vault actually belonged to the Dandy family, according to Dan, the owner, which is really cool. And throughout the house you'll find some more objects that belong to them. We're gonna head upstairs. Right here we have Phil and Claire's room, master bedroom. This is where a lot of the investigations are held when people come here. And the same room is the only closet in the house. And apparently in the 1940s, this is the closet the young boy got hung. Really creepy closet. This is Mary's room. A lot of activity has actually taken place in here. A really small room too. And right here we have Laura's room, which still has some original wallpaper on the walls, which, like I said, is really cool how Dan tried to keep what was original to the house. I think that's really important. And then Dan was telling me about this stroller right here too. This was actually found on the porch of the property when he purchased it. So So you have Laura's room right here, which I'm standing in, Phil and Dandy's room, and then Mary's room splits off from Phil and Dandy's. But when you're walking down the stairs, probably one of the most infamous places in the house is the crawl space right here. What's said is that there was bodies stuffed inside the crawl space until they could be buried. And I guess no one knows if that's really real. Dan told me that everything that was left in here when he bought the property is from the Dandys or the previous owners, and he just stuffed it all to the front because he didn't want to get rid of it. And I think it's really cool that he kept all that stuff in there. It gives the house a sense of originality in a way, especially when you leave like the old wallpaper and everything like that. Alright guys, so we're in the kitchen of the Hinsdale house right now, and we're going to start off the investigation by using the spirit box and seeing if there's anything here on the bottom floor of the house. Is there any spirits in this house right now with me? So Dan showed us these earlier, and these are little spearheads that he found when he dug up the property. And it does show that there was some type of Indian civilization here at one point, which is really fascinating. And it really brings the story of the Indian massacre to truth, because that really could have happened now, because there was literally arrowheads found on this property. I'm going to have these arrowheads sitting next to me on the table when I'm asking questions to kind of trigger the spirit to answer maybe. Alright, so we weren't really getting any answers on the spirit box, so we're going to do a little dowsing rod session and see if they want to answer on these instead. Can you cross the rods if there's anybody in this house with me? Can you cross the rods if there's somebody I can't see? Can you cross the rods if someone's watching me right now? Can you uncross the rods? Can you straighten the rods out? Can you point me in the direction of where you are? Can you point both of the rods in the direction of where you are? Why is that one all the way to the left? We also have the millimeter right here, which tests the electromagnetic field around us, and it takes the temperature. So it's really a great tool when you go to these haunted places. Like, it just went up to 2.2, but you can't see it. I think it's at like 0.1. Yeah, but it's really hard to make this thing go off. It really only goes off if there's a phone around it or some type of signal. So if there's not, and it goes off, you just know it's real. Alright guys, so we just moved into Mike's room here, or what would have been Mike's room. And this is where Mike was sleeping on his bed right there. And as he was sleeping, a bunch of board games on that shelf right above his bed started flying down and hit him right in the chest as he was sleeping. He then told his mother, Clara, about it. And at that point, Clara was pretty concerned that whatever was in the woods was coming in the house. So that's why I wanted to come in this room and ask some questions. Is there something evil in this house? Can you cross the rods if whatever is here is evil? Can you cross the rods if you don't want us to be here? I did not move. Can you cross the rods if there's Native Americans buried on this property? Cross the rods if there's Native Americans buried on this property, please. How many? Or can you uncross the rods? Can you make them straight from each other, parallel from each other? Straighten them back out to how they were. Cross the rods if there was people buried here on this property. Can you cross the rods if there was people murdered here? You cross the rods if anybody was murdered inside this house? Can you uncross the rods? Can you make the rods parallel from each other if that was you answering me? Straighten the rods back out, please. Alright guys, so I am in Phil and Clara's room, and I'm going to ask some questions, and this is supposedly one of the best spots to investigate in the house, so I figured I'd come up here and do some more spirit box, because I wasn't really getting anything downstairs in the kitchen. Is there a negative energy surrounding this house and property? How many people died here? Is there a portal in this house? How many spirits are haunting this house? Heard like a little groan or a moan or something. How many spirits are in this house with me right now? Are you in this room with me as I'm asking you questions? Are you in this room with me? Are you here? Are you here in this room with me? Was that you? Are you trying to come through? Are you trying to communicate with me? up in Clara and Phil's room right now, and we're gonna do some dowsing rods and see if they're up here, because this is actually a really great location to do the dowsing rods, because you have Laura's room right there, Mary's room right there, and then you have the crawl space, which is right down the stairs. So this is like a great spot to ask questions. You cross the rods if you tried to kill one of the Dandy family members. Did you try to kill Laura? Did you try to kill Laura Dandy? Uncross the rods if you tried to kill Laura Dandy. Did you want Mike Dandy dead? Can you cross the rods if you wanted Mike dead as well? Can you uncross the rods if you tried to kill Mike in the car accident? Was that you that swerved him off the road? Can you straighten out the rods if you tried to kill Mike Dandy? Straighten the rods if you try to murder Mike Dandy. Can you point me in the direction of where you are right now? Can you point both of the rods in the direction of where you are? It's like pointing, it could be pointing towards the crawl space, but there's also this closet right here, which apparently in the 40s a young boy almost got hung inside that closet. Alright, so I'm standing on the stairs because it pointed in the general direction of the crawl space. So I'm going to really see if it's pointing towards the crawl space. If you're here with me, can you point these rods in the direction of where you are right now? Point both of the rods in the exact location of where you are. Please. Move the rods in the direction of where you are right now. Are you in Laura's room? Can you cross the rods if you were in Laura's room? Alright guys, so we're in Laura's room now. If you were here in Laura's room with me, cross the rods. Can you uncross the rods, please? Can you just uncross them, make them straight? Did you try to kill Laura? Can you cross the rods if you try to kill Laura? Can you uncross the rods? Alright guys, so I came here with my father and my brother, and they both actually just left the house and they're gonna go explore the woods. So I am in the house all alone right now. There's absolutely no one in here, so any sounds, anything that I hear is totally like unexplainable. Alright guys, so I know I haven't done this in a while, but I'm gonna use the pendulum. I'm not going to do too many questions on this, but I did want to just use it because it's been a while. It's not really as accurate as other ways of paranormal investigating. That's why I really don't use it as much, because my hand could move or something. But I will try to be as still as possible. Like I said, I'm the only one in the house right now. This is yes. And this is no. Is there a demonic presence haunting this land and this house? Was there really bodies stuffed in the crawl space? Look at that. That's really moving. Guys, right now I'm getting like this really strong sense of being watched. Like there's just this feeling of being watched. And like I said, I'm the only one in here, so it literally can't be anything else. But I'm gonna ask it on the pendulum. Are you watching me right now as I ask you questions? Are you watching me? It started shaking back and forth right away. Can you stop the pendulum? It's so weird because on the dowsing rods, a lot of the time it doesn't even straighten them out. Alright guys, so that's gonna wrap up the video. My camera battery just died before I could film the outro. This place was absolutely insane. This is one of my favorite investigations so far. Big shout out to Klaes, the owner of this place. He saved this place from demolition actually. This place was gonna be demolished and he bought it, and now he does like tours and stuff like that. Actually, he runs a website, so go check that out. You can actually stay in this place overnight too, if you're the type of person that can handle something like that. But actually I was thinking about doing that in a future video, so if you want to see that, leave a comment, because I think that would be a really cool video and we would definitely get a lot of activity. Also, I've been reading the book that Clara Dandy wrote called Echoes of a Haunting. This book is absolutely awesome. It's basically like a day-to-day diary of when they lived in the house, and Clara Dandy really dives into like all the things that happened to her and her family. It's just really cool to like see how it was from her perspective. But yeah, if you guys want to see a part 3, leave a comment. I was thinking about going to the woods at night, and also I wanted to stay overnight at this place. Of course, I got some other locations lined up as well, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the Urban Files, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace out.